Wednesday's forecast, though. We've got these southwesterly winds spreading that milder air in off the Atlantic, but it's going to be quite an unsettled day. The best of the weather probably in the morning across eastern areas with some sunshine. In the west, we start to see thundery downpours work in. Some of those are going to be quite lively with the winds strengthening. But look at the temperatures. We're looking at highs of 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. But after a dry day, I don't know, it feels disappointing with the return to rain, Fiona.
Chris, thanks very much. Thank you. And from the 6 team, it's goodbye. The news continues here on BBC One. Now it's time to join our colleagues across the nations and regions for the news where you are. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Fiona. Tonight on BBC London, described as a return to the days of Victorian slums, the former council homes being let to multiple tenants.
Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places.
Gee whiz. How do they get six? How do they get 6 places in there?
The BBC's Panorama found one landlord making tens of thousands of pounds out of the scheme. Also on the programme, breathing clean air, the pupils building air purifiers for their classrooms. Speeding up journey times from London to Luton Airport, the new rail shuttle opens today, but some have questioned the cost of a fare. And
some news to share with you guys.
He was made in Chelsea, but is he made for 76 marathons? We speak to the reality star trying to raise £1 million for charity. To BBC London. A BBC investigation for Panorama has found a landlord in London is making tens of thousands of pounds a year from what used to be social housing. Council estates were built to provide millions of people with decent homes, but their tenants were given the chance to buy them at a discount in the 1980s under the Right to Buy policy. But now 40% of those Right to Buy purchases in the capital are owned by private landlords, and some of them are cashing in on the housing crisis with overcrowded properties, as Richard Bilton reports.
Avril used to live on the Bampton estate in Lewisham.
Everybody along here was friends.
In the 80s, she bought her house, sold it and moved away.
Everybody always had a nice show of flowers. Everything was clean. It was a lovely place.
A lot has changed since.
So this was your place, and
Yeah.
now it's, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places.
Gee whiz. How do they get six? How do they get 6 places in there?
Her old terraced house now has 6 tenants, each paying nearly £1,000 a month, mostly through housing benefit. One, who doesn't want to be identified, agrees to show her around.
Oh, it just stops here. Yeah. Oh my God. This was our kitchen, which was...
Yeah, the toilet there.
Yeah, the whole thing was our kitchen. So there's a little tiny shower in there and a toilet.
Yeah.
You like it here?
No, but I like it like this one. One kitchen, 6 people.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
Your old kitchen is this gentleman's home, and he pays 960 quid a month for it.
I think it's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
This is the landlord, Joel Zwiebel. He owns 3 other old council houses on the block, each divided into 6, earning him hundreds of thousands of pounds.
This is an absolute disgrace. It was to get rid of those slum landlords that in the first place we created the social housing, the council housing. So the wheel has turned full circle back to where it came from, and this is like the days of Victorian slums of yesteryear.
We think Mr. Zwiebel shouldn't even be a landlord or control the property because he illegally evicted a former tenant. If he told the council, he would have found it difficult to pass the fit and proper person test. Now, when we wrote to Mr. Zwiebel asking for his response to these allegations, he said they were inaccurate, but wouldn't say what the inaccuracies were and didn't answer our questions. So I caught up with him.
Mr. Zwiebel, sir. I'm Richard Bilton from BBC Panorama. Sir, are you a slum landlord?
And should you be a landlord at all? Did you tell the council about your illegal eviction? Sir, would you just talk to us about those properties because they seem unfair? Sir, we would like to know how you can charge £1,000 given your track record.
Lewisham Council say that they are now investigating Mr Zweibel, Britain's old council estates, under pressure as the housing crisis bites. Richard Bilton, BBC News.
Well, you can see more about this on Panorama, What's Gone Wrong with Our Housing. That's tonight at 8 o'clock on BBC One and, of course, on the iPlayer as well. Lots more to come tonight, including what might more traffic on the Thames mean for rowing clubs?
And plenty of spring sunshine today. It will slowly turn milder as the week wears on, but along with the mild air comes some rain. All the details later.
Now, delays linking up the high-speed rail link HS2 and Euston will mean extra costs and potentially even higher spending, according to the government spending watchdog. The report by the National Audit Office looking at the central London part of the line says current plans for rebuilding Euston has almost doubled in cost. Earlier this month, the government was criticised after announcing it was prioritising services between Old Oak Common in West London and Birmingham. It means services wouldn't stop in Euston until 2035 at the earliest. Well, let's find out more from Miranda Shunker. Miranda.
Well, this giant building site you can see behind me has always been the planned end of the line for this controversial of government projects. But it seems as the costs keep rising on this, so too does the uncertainty over whether it will ever make it to Euston or indeed when. I've been speaking to local people here and they have had 10 years of this already, talking about hundreds of homes demolished, businesses lost, and they've just been left with congestion, a lot of construction and a lot of hassle all along the way. Their quality of life very much diminished. So the concern now is over the timescales of this project, stretching well into the late 2030s now, and the cost indeed as well. The latest predictions for rebuilding Euston Station stand at £4.8 billion. That's a whopping 2.2 billion over the original planned budget. Even the design for the station has been sent back to the drawing board. And of course, any idea that Old Oak Common in West London could end up being the final stop on HS2, well, TfL have already said that the Elizabeth line simply couldn't cope under its current size and capacity. They'd have to get new trains involved. So it brings us all down to the journey times now. For any passengers moving from West London to get into central London, that will lump on another 30 minutes onto their journey. So the question is, how high speed will this all really be? Well, a local councillor here, Danny Beals, was speaking today, and he said that any idea of giving up on Euston would be a disaster. It would destroy the slim credibility of HS2 or whatever it has left. And he's calling on the government now to commit to Euston Station and really deliver the benefits that the government promised to these local communities here. Back to you.
Miranda, thank you. Students at a school near one of London's busiest roads have built pollution filters to clean the air they breathe in class. Elm Green School in Tulse Hill is one of many in London in an area of high pollution. The filters cost £200 and remove harmful particulates. Here's our environment correspondent, Tom Edwards.
Elm Green School in Tulse Hill is right next to the busy South Circular. And like many schools in London, it's in an area of high pollution, which can impact health.
The fan sucks the dirty air in, and then the particles get trapped in the filter, and then the clean air comes back out.
Here they've decided to do something about it. These are filters they've built to reduce the pollution in the classroom.
You see from the monitors that there's a lot of particulates in the air in the classrooms, and ever since these have come in, they've sort of reduced that.
After you spend a lot of time in here in the school day, you definitely notice it's nowhere near as clean as when you leave London or when you're just in different areas.
You can kind of like smell it, and it's really like dusty because it's a big city and it's polluted since there's a lot of cars and buses.
But this zone is about to be expanded to include all of these other boroughs as well.
The school will in August become part of the ultra-low emission zone when it's expanded to cover the whole of London. That will mean drivers of older, more polluting vehicles that aren't compliant will have to pay.
I think it's a very good idea because even if certain areas are cleaner than others, we need to encourage everybody to take public transport with the systems that we've already provided for them. And that's the kind of the dream, is that everybody just gets rid of their cars or uses them as little as possible.
I think it's very good for the environment. It's like, it'll definitely benefit, like, definitely our area. But for people who use their car for work a lot, it might be quite frustrating.
I think, people do have to consider the implications for people that can't afford a new car or can't afford to pay the fine. But I think for the most part, people are in favour of expanding the ULEZ.
Expanding the ultra-low emission zone has been contentious. Some think it doesn't go far enough. TfL modelling says the expansion will cut pollution and that will improve health.
We are in a very, very polluted part of London. We are 50 yards from the South Circular, one of the most polluted roads in London. So anything that makes that less polluted and makes the air cleaner for our children to breathe is a good thing by me.
The Mayor is planning to expand the ultra-low emission zone in August. It's where more polluting older cars will have to pay. But not everyone is for it. Some people think it's been introduced too quickly and the £110 million scrappage scheme isn't enough. And 4 councils are also taking it to court. This was a demonstration against expansion last week in Trafalgar Square.
City Hall Conservatives' position is clear. We want him to cancel his plans. We want him to listen to Londoners and cancel these expansion plans, because the effect on so many Londoners and on the economy of the city will be overwhelming. He does not have a mandate for it, so we believe he should not be going ahead with these plans.
ULEZ expansion will probably end up in court. At this school on the South Circular, though, anything that tries to cut pollution is welcome. Tom Edwards, BBC London.
Well, we've compiled a comprehensive list of all the claims around the ultra-low emission zone, and we fact-checked them too. They're on our website. Just search for ULEZ on the BBC News website, or of course head to the BBC News app. Now, children as young as 8 are being strip-searched by the police, according to a report by the Children's Commissioner for England. It also found that some children were subjected to such searches in the back of police vans, in schools and fast food outlets. Well, our political editor Tim Donovan joins me now. And Tim, this is research that's been done UK-wide, isn't it, following a shocking case in London?
Yeah, it doesn't confine this issue to the Met by any means, but as you say, it came to the forefront because of what happened in London with considerable anger and protests. People will remember when the story emerged of a 15-year-old girl who'd been strip-searched at school without her mother, an appropriate adult present. And as a result of that, the Office of the Children's Commissioner did UK-wide research, and that from that research, between 2018 and 2022, there were 891 incidents in London. These are strip searches not done in police stations, and that represented 31% of the UK total, though it's worth saying that Hertfordshire and Merseyside actually strip searched more children per population of children, but there is an acceptance that changes needed to happen.
I think what we need urgently is leadership from the top of the Metropolitan Police that puts the safeguarding of children front and centre. And we need a cultural change across the police service that changes how the police treat children, and particularly how they treat black children.
To which the Met said today that they are and have taken measures to ensure that strip searches are done much more appropriately and take in a lot more of the appropriate circumstances. And as a result, there has been a reduction for a number of reasons, including, they said, these include requiring the authorisation of an inspector, improve record keeping, and requiring safeguarding referrals for all strip searches under stop and search involving children. It should also be said, or they wanted to remind us, that there's a reason why it is used occasionally. 500, an average, 500 incidents of knife crime involving under 17s in the last 5 years, and 55 fatalities over that time. And the Met said, an annual average of 580 children were arrested for possession with intent to supply drugs, and 1,300 for possessing offensive weapons. So they're just trying to remind us that there will be a time, there will be occasions when it is necessary. Up to now, they're conceding they've really got that wrong.
OK, Tim, thank you. A new rail connection to speed up the journey to Luton Airport has opened today. Previously, passengers had to catch a shuttle bus between Luton Parkway and the airport. And the DART, or Direct Air Rail Transit, not only cuts the travel time, but also makes the trip from central London quicker too. It's been largely welcomed by users, but the new service has also come in for some criticism, as it's 2 years delayed and millions over budget. Luke Hanrahan reports.
A brand new driverless rail link, transporting passengers from Luton Parkway to Luton Airport.
Shuttle is departing.
Work began on the 1.5 mile long Luton DART in 2018. It was due to open by the end of 2020. More than 2 years late, it's finally open.
It's £4.90 a ticket. I'd pay it if I'm in a rush, and I'm not paying for it for business, but personally, I'd rather not.
If Luton want to encourage more travellers, they make this element free.
Do you think it was worth it?
Yes, I think so. Much better than the bus.
Could this be the most expensive piece of rail track anywhere in the world per metre, at a cost of almost £300 million and £70 million over budget? Was it worth it, and why was it so expensive?
In your eyes, though, it was money well spent?
Oh, absolutely money well spent. If you look at the Suez Canal, for example, that connects two important oceans. Its value isn't just the length of it, its value is what it achieves, what it creates, and the benefits that derive from that. And we're like the Suez Canal, really, for the airport and the railway.
Flying from Luton Airport. We'll take you from London St Pancras to the terminal in as little as 32 minutes.
The Luton DART is part of the newly launched Luton Express, which connects passengers from St Pancras to the airport in 30 minutes. But with the DART fare alone at £4.90 a ticket, is it value for money? It's close to £5 for a mile. That seems quite expensive. What are your views on that?
So I think it's very important that we look at this from the perspective of the overall journey. So prices now start from as little as £10 for a journey between St Pancras and the airport, and the experience for our passengers will be so much better.
The long-term plan is to expand capacity at this airport by 50%. It's hoped the Luton DART and the Luton Express will improve the perceptions of passengers and transform journeys to Luton Airport. Luke Hanrahan, BBC London.
OK, let's take a look now at some of the day's other news in brief. And a Metropolitan Police constable has been jailed for 5 years over a string of child sex offences. PC Hussein Chahab previously admitted numerous offences, including sexual activity with a girl aged 13 to 15 and making indecent images of a child. He committed some of the offences while working as a safer schools officer at a secondary school. Plans to change weekend flying times at London City Airport have been opposed by the Mayor's office. Arrivals and departures are not allowed for 24 hours over the weekend. The airport submitted proposals to operate flights later on Saturdays, but the Mayor's office has opposed the plans on environmental grounds. Manager Antonio Conte has left Tottenham Hotspur by mutual consent after 16 months in charge. Conte called the Spurs players selfish and criticised the club's culture in a remarkable news conference after their recent draw at Southampton. Now, the River Thames has been a hive of activity for millennia, but since the mid-20th century, traffic on the river has declined. One London councillor has described the waterway as soulless and wants more piers to be built. The Port of London Authority has plans to expand navigation on the Thames, but other river users aren't happy with the latest proposals. Wendy Hurrell has more.
Once the River Thames bustled with vessels, and while it's still the largest inland waterway for freight and passengers today, the waters are far more quiet, with traffic congestion over the top. One Wandsworth councillor said in a planning committee last week the Thames was empty, soulless and underused.
Well, what you've got here is the equivalent of a 10-lane motorway, but unfortunately with no on and off ramps. You've got a massive railway line, but with no stations. We should look carefully at any application which builds new piers or makes existing piers bigger and welcome them.
2 applications in question at Putney, part of Uberboat expansion plans. Well, for some river users, the extension or addition of piers along the waterway isn't very popular. The rowing community has said it would impact social rowing enormously and add an extra obstacle along the water. Alistair Marks, the CEO of British Rowing, called the plans the latest in a seemingly endless series of applications which threatens the most important and longest established rowing course in the country, which we saw in its full glory this weekend at the Oxford-Cambridge boat race.
Well, I mean, I'm conflicted because I love the river service. My wife and I love the river service from Putney going down to into the city of London. You know, I hate to stop progress. It wouldn't be good for us if they built one at Fulham, at the Fulham football grounds potentially. But you know, I don't know how far these riverboats can go down. The Uber service from Putney is excellent, so I'm in favor of that.
And the Port of London Authority is in favour of increasing traffic on the Thames. It says there is huge potential for light freight, so the things we buy online delivered by waterway.
We finished a trial last week which was bringing office supplies and small power tools from a site we own in Dartford up to East London and then into central London to Bankside Pier just upstream from where we are now. And they were also taking freight back again. So we're actually utilising the river both into London and out of London.
So the tides will turn for the Thames. Hopefully any modernisation will benefit all river users. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
Now, if you shudder at the thought of completing a marathon, spare a thought for my next guest, who is taking on 76 of them in just 76 days. Josh Patterson is completing one in each of the UK's major cities to try and raise £1 million for the suicide prevention charity Samaritans. You may recognise his name from the TV series Made in Chelsea. Before we hear from him, let's have a look at one of his appearances.
So basically, some news to share with you guys.
Are you pregnant?
Oh, mate.
It's really important that you and I are on the same page about this and that we're strong. You know, I'm happy with where we're at now. I hope you are too.
Yeah.
Josh, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Look like you're still stretching there. I think you've just finished another marathon, haven't you? Week 5 completed, 29 I think you've done now. How are you feeling this evening?
Nothing like playing a clip of you and your ex-partner from 5 years ago. What a way to start. Yeah, I'm good. I'm just in the camper van right now. We just finished marathon 29 today.
And you're looking pretty happy with it, and things going well?
Things are going really well. It's been amazing. This whole experience has been phenomenal, to be honest with you. I've met so many incredible people. We've been through so many highs and lows. Each country has just brought something completely different. I'm currently in Liverpool this evening, which I take on marathon number 30 tomorrow, which I can't wait for. I'm a big Liverpool fan, so it's a city very close to my heart.
And you're hoping to raise £1 million, aren't you, for all of this, as I said. But there are really personal reasons why you've embarked on this challenge, aren't there? Tell us about that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, like so many people in this world, I've had my battles with my mental health, you know, to the point where I contemplated suicide. It's something that will affect us all at some point in our lives. And for me personally, I really empathize with those that struggle. And unfortunately, there are not the resources out there for so many that they deserve, nor is there the support. And so, you know, my privilege in life is that I have the resources to try and raise as much money as I possibly can to support those in need. And that's why I connected with Samaritans charity, one that's very close to my heart too. You know, it's a simple phone call, and there's unlimited amounts of times that you can call these guys, and they are incredibly empathetic. They're so passionate about what they do. And for anybody that's watching this interview right now, if you are struggling, please just pick up the phone and reach out to them, because you deserve that support.
'Cause you had that moment of realisation yourself, didn't you? You know, I think it related to your little girl. You realised the position that what life could have been like if you hadn't got help, hadn't recognised your own problem.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. But, you know, the power of this challenge right now is to try and change the narrative. I mean, I'm a person that many years ago contemplated taking his own life. And here I am now, 29 marathons in of 76. You know, and I think it's really important for us to showcase that to people, that even when you live with this disease, phenomenal things can still be achieved. And, you know, this isn't something that I'm achieving, you know, on my own. I have the most incredible team of specialists from Until that have supported me along the way. You know, my Chris Taylor, my right-hand man, Ted and Reese, my videographers, my family, the support of the people of the UK, the donations that are coming in. When you accumulate that all together, you feel so inspired every day to get up and face whatever marathon we face.
Well, we wish you so much luck for what we've got ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
OK, with that, let's get a check on the weather. Here's Elizabeth Rizzini. Lizzie.
Hello, thank you, Victoria. It was such a gorgeous looking day today, wasn't it? Look at all this blue sky and sunshine just over central London here. Photo taken by a weather watcher, of course. It looked gorgeous, but it was really quite chilly outside. Temperatures didn't make it much past 9 or 10 degrees Celsius for most of us, but my goodness, it felt a lot warmer than it did yesterday with all of that cloud and cold air. So lots of sunshine. Beautiful blossom again is captured by weather watcher here in Hampton and once more in St James's Park. Now, as we head through the rest of the week, we'll start to see a few changes because the cold air is going to go. It will start to turn milder really from Wednesday onwards. So for the rest of the week, milder, yes, but the payback for that is that we're going to see the wet and windy stuff again. So it'll feel a bit more like how it did last week. Generally wet, windy, low pressure very much in charge. And you can see that weather front out towards the west. That's going to be working its way in overnight tonight. But clear skies at first, and temperatures will drop as low as perhaps 1 or 2 degrees Celsius initially before rising to these figures with more cloud and a freshening southerly breeze as we head into the start of the day tomorrow. Now, for your morning commute, do expect to see some outbreaks of rain working their way in from the west, pushing eastwards throughout the morning, lasting possibly into the first part of the afternoon. It will tend to be quite showery, so on and off, and then more dry weather as we head through the afternoon. Still quite a brisk southerly wind, plenty of cloud, temperatures 9 or 10 degrees. That's more or less what we saw today, but we will be without all of that sunshine. Wednesday, though, an improvement. It's a milder start to the day. A lot of cloud. Again, we've got a brisk southwesterly wind this time. More outbreaks of rain, could turn heavy by the end of the day, but look at these temperatures. We're back up to 14, 15 degrees Celsius, so on a par with what we saw last week. And the low pressure is going nowhere, of course, neither are those higher temperatures. This area of low pressure could give us a few issues perhaps as we head through the day on Friday. Maybe some really strong gusty winds, but still a lot of uncertainty as to the position of that low, and that will depend on, that will affect how strong the winds are and where the showers are too. Thursday showery, Friday showers, and possibly some very strong winds. Victoria.
It's not quite what I wanted from spring, but thanks very much indeed. OK, that's about it from me. I will be here later with our 10:30 programme. In the meantime, you can, of course, keep up to date with the BBC News app, or you can have a look at our website, bbc.co.uk/London. But for now, from all of us, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
I'm back on the